Hello. Looks like I am now live. A little late. Let's see if anybody actually joins. Hello. How are you? Hi, Lillian. I just saw I had a message from you, Lillian. I haven't read it yet. I hope that your coffee date went well, or just coffee with friends. Yeah, I got started a little late. I had a friend come over and give me a wrap that she... Oh, dude, shut up. She came over and gave me a wrap to take with me to the hospital next week for my surgery, so that should be good. And it was nice catching up and chatting, but it did make me a little late for this. Instead of 8 o'clock, we're sitting at, what, 8:45? So, there we go. Not drinking anything tonight. Anybody have anything to talk about? Saturday night was the Glisten Breaking the Silence dance in Phoenix, and that was pretty fun. And we volunteered for that and had the kids, just helped with registration for the kids and get them all, just registered and paying for the event, which was fun. And it's a dance by Glisten for all the GSAs in the Valley to just come and have like an LGBT prom, a safe space where they can have some fun, which is really cool. And they seem to all have a lot of fun. Everybody I talked to said it was great. So it was really good. But I'm going to need some interaction. Otherwise, we're just going to sit here and stare at each other. What else happened? We went and saw Hellboy. I was not impressed with him as Hellboy, because Ron Perlman is Hellboy, and him trying to own it was not so great. Hello, Pokemon trainer. Hi there. So yeah, Hellboy was fun. It was pretty. It was plot-wise pretty clunky, but I don't know. It was what it was. Then we watched Game of Thrones yesterday, and that was lovely. And that was an awesome end to Easter. Hello, Pokemon Trainer and PTI 9890. I don't know any of you. That's okay. I always wonder how random people show up. Like, is there a notification that just some random user has gone live and so you just join the channel? I'm curious. I don't know how that works. I only watch people's live streams when it's like a friend of mine already, and then I go and look. So, got a few people. Where's everybody from? I need to know. This is important to me. And Darren. I'm not going to show you my body. I wonder if it's just too late for a Monday. It's still Monday, right? Yes, it is. Well, while we're sitting here waiting. Oh, great. From Tempe High. Did I see you today? Randomly? While we're sitting here, I am taking my shot, so don't mind me fidgeting in the background here. I'm not going to show you the specifics, but I do need to do it. So, yeah, so it was like really sweet. All the people over at Tempe High. So I've been able to go to a meeting for the past 4 months, and this was the last one for the year because the school year is ending. Working with some of the kids over at Tempe, and it is so much fun. I have a lot of fun in those, and I babble, I talk a lot. I wish the kids would interact more a little bit, but I can understand why everybody's shy. And it's just nice to be able to talk to people and at least be supportive when maybe somebody else isn't being supportive in their life, and just help. It's very nice. And the cupcakes were lovely with little butterflies. That was amusing. I liked it. So, was there anything else that anybody wants to talk about? Otherwise, I'm just going to babble, and that is never any fun for everybody else. Except for maybe Darren, who wants to see me babble. So yeah, male to female or female to male, this is what you have to look forward to for a very long time. The needles don't bother me like they used to. I got diabetes when I was 19, and actually, was that? Yeah, I was 19. And before that, I was just like, wow, if I was ever diabetic, I would just end up dead because I couldn't stand needles. I was a real priss about it. And then I got diabetes, and the universe said, ha, fuck you. Look, a couple more people. Megan, Sebastian, hello. And yeah, so the universe said, you have to love needles now, and that's just how it is. So I guess I'm just going to stick myself for all my drugs, insulin or estradiol or anything else that I need, apparently. That's what I'm going to do now. So, Megan and Sebastian, where are you from? Only one of, it says you both joined, but only one of you is here. And it is, oh, Evelyn. Hello. If you have any questions, use the little question thingy down here. That looks like a little Mario question. And then when the question is asked, I can put it up on the screen, so if anybody pops in or out, they can see what the question is that I am answering. I don't think anybody has done so. No. So any plans for the summer? Doing anything fun with the family, or just sit in the Arizona heat and sweat? Gonna have to be dainty here. Pardon me. At least Darren isn't watching while I take my pants off, because that would be creepy. Yes, so I need to know stuff to talk about and stuff that's new, because I am going to be bored as hell when I'm in New York, and I need all of you to keep me entertained. So part of this is like, what should I do to keep myself entertained? What books or anime should I be watching, or TV series do I need to catch up on? Because I don't know. So in this case, I'm shooting up straight into my quadricep. They say the outer thigh, like upper glute outer thigh, is better, but I cannot reach and have the strength to push the plunger that far back. So I still do my thighs. It would be better, but I can't. I just don't have the strength in my hands, and with the 3 milliliter syringes, the pressure is just too much, so it takes a long time to actually get the medicine in. What I need to do is just go online and order 1 milliliter syringes. And if you end up on injections, every once in a while, you will hit a nerve and it will hurt like hell. What's the question? Do I have any plans for summer? Most of my summer, I think, is going to be taken up healing. So I have my surgery next week, next Monday morning in New York, and I'm going to be there for a month. My wife will be out there for a little while, and then she's coming home to take care of our cat because we have an elderly cat, and we don't want to leave her alone that long. But I'll be out there until the end of May, and I'll be back just in time for her birthday. And then my plans are pretty much another 2 months of dilation schedule, which is not fun. It doesn't leave much room for anything else, though, if you're doing it 3 or 4 times a day. But that's got to be done. And then after that, going back to work. So we're not going to get a vacation this year because of the surgeries, so it kind of kills any vacation plans, which I know is a bummer for my wife. But it's worth it in the long run, but in the short run, it makes it a pretty crappy summer this year. Maybe she can find something that she can go do with other friends while I'm continuing to convalesce and heal. So, shot is taken. Simple as that. Don't ever let that worry you. If that's something you need to do, it goes pretty simply for the most part. After I take my shot, I put my finger over the hole for about 10 to 30 seconds just to make sure that it coagulates and nothing comes back out the hole and leaves a little blood stain on your pants, because that's unsightly and it ruins your pants over time. So, there's that. All done. So, what are you doing, Evelyn, for summer? What are your plans? You can type them in here. So because this, what people type doesn't show up, I usually just read the questions out loud so that if anybody watches this in the replay, they know what the question was that was asked. Yeah, summer's when you're no longer able to get out of school and have a summer break. Summers become kind of non-events. They're just another time to spend where you got to stay inside the air conditioning. And I actually find that I like to travel more in the winter time though, because fewer people are traveling, and so the places we like to go are less busy. So it can be a little better going in the winter time. Travel is cheaper. Summertime, everybody's going somewhere, but in the winter time, not so many people are going anywhere. So, Evelyn, did you go to the dance, the Break the Silence dance with Glisten? You don't type at all. Thank you for typing a question, though. I appreciate that. I like this little feature with the questions, but it's a little wonky. Like if your question is more than 3 lines long, it cuts it off, and not everybody can see what it is. I was hoping some of my friends might pop on that go live. You did go, good. I'm trying to remember. Okay, I told you I was horrible with names and faces, so I'm trying to remember. Are you short with glasses, kind of like your avatar? And I talked to you on the way out? I'm glad you had a good time. I really worry about kids being cynical and be like, everything sucks, but everybody I talked to said they had fun, and that's great. Because that's what it was all about, is just putting on a fun event for everybody. I think one of the awesome things too is just, I love seeing everybody's outfits and how much fun they were having. Like some people were super casual and everything was groovy. Some people are really just like dressed to the nines. They did a great job. A couple people like super fancy, and most people were just took a little piece of it and just had a reason to, put some effort into their wardrobe for the night, and that was pretty fun. My wife and I did as well. We don't dress up enough these days, so we don't go out to clubs as much as we used to. So other than business casual for work, there's no real dressing up, so it's fun to get spruced up now and again. Yes, the homemade galaxy dress. That was awesome. Yeah, my wife was the one that checked you in. She's short. She had the just red hair that's kind of deeply undercut, and she was so excited when she saw you. She's like, "Oh, because it's like a galaxy lolly dress." That was awesome. And we like that quite a bit. LSBG, hello. I don't know where everybody goes on a Monday night. I think everybody goes to bed early or something. I try to be consistent and make it Mondays so that they know Monday evening they can come and we can just sit and chat. But not many people actually stick around for Monday for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not too fussed about it. What was your favorite part of the dance? So I didn't get to spend much time in the actual dance room. I was either doing registration where people were paying, and then my second shift was going over to the chill out room and hanging out in there. And so the only time I saw the main room for the dance was they forgot the raffle tickets. And my wife is like, "Hey, raffle tickets, you might want to give them to Rebecca." So I grabbed the raffle tickets and ran in there and gave them to her. And so it was pretty much her reading the raffle tickets, and then at the end when they took the group photo. So I saw the group photo, but I wasn't in there when it was everybody was dancing and having fun. Yeah, that chill out room is rad. It's got like the couches and the foosball and the video games, and they were setting up. They had like those, making the little I don't know what the focus jar, relaxation jar. Concept being, you put a bunch of glitter in a solution in a mason jar, and you shake it up like when you get irritated or anxious or whatever, and you're starting to get escalated. And you shake it up and then set it down, and then you just wait until it settles and just watch it settle. And when it stops, take your deep breath and like calm down. Did you go with a sweetie, or did you have somebody to slow dance with? Mersp. Hello. Who is trash? I don't know if I know you. Yeah, so I missed the slow dance. We were at registration when they did the actual break the silence, shout, and the moment of silence. So we're all sitting out there. It's like, ooh, everything got really quiet. We're like, oh, we should shut up too. And it was a little, I think there are some things that we want to do better next year for communication among the volunteers and things like that. So, yeah, it's really good. I saw so many people there that were just like, are we allowed to hold hands? It's like, yes, you can hold hands. That's fine. Just don't be all gropey. But no, that space is really neat. I'd only been there for meetings a couple of times with Glisten, and just seeing all the things that 1 in 10 have there. Like if you know Bob Parsons, he and his wife donated that building, and it's their building, the Parsons building. He seems like just a gruff, Marine asshole, but he does a lot of good work. He does a lot of cool stuff, and some friends of mine used to work at GoDaddy when they still did the big GoDaddy parties, and he'd just be up there. It's like, we're giving away $1 million tonight, and he would just hit a little button, and it would randomly pull up employee names, and they would get $10,000 each, and or I think they did 10 with $10,000, and then 90 with $1,000 to all these employees, and then he's like, yeah, screw it, we're gonna give away another $1 million, and he just kept hitting the button, and just like, I'm sure somebody was freaking out somewhere. And that's like just gifts, his own personal money given back to his employees, and it's kind of a bummer that they don't do that anymore. I mean, it's a corporate environment. They sold to like it's a publicly traded company now, and they don't have that freedom to just have fun like that. But Bob and his wife do a lot of good work, and it's really cool that they have put so much into that building, and I think they also provide a grant for Glisten that helps. So yeah, they do a lot of good work for the LGBT community locally. I don't know what they do on a national level, but pretty awesome. Kudos to them. they need it, especially after the old 1 in 10 building burned down. They needed a place to be, and he stepped in and said, here you go, and that was pretty amazing. But yeah, the 1 in 10 space is really neat. They got that kitchen over there. I really like the couches. I was talking to a bunch of kids from, Desert Hills, which is actually right down the road from me out here in Gilbert. And they were really fun too. You should have stopped by and say hi. I would have said hello and talked to you, but again, I'm horrible with names and faces, so I forget who I know. And I know, and again, I forgot his name already. Oh, I'm horrible. Dylan, Dalton, Devlin, your GSA president. Know him and like recognize when he came in. So, bellissimo, hello. So it was fun though. That's like the most exciting thing I had happen all weekend. Oh, Friday night. Oh, this is relevant, I guess. So part of me going and having my surgery is me freaking out about secondary infections and complications. And recently, a lady died from complications following her surgery, and the very real possibility that is an outcome is kind of it hits home. It makes it a little more serious, and that is a little scary. But I just wanted, it kind of put me in a contemplative state of mind, and I just realized I wanted to see my friends just in case I don't get a chance to see them again. If I don't come back from New York at all, which is a possibility. If anytime you have surgery, there's always that chance that things don't work out like you want. And so I had a little party, kind of last minute, thrown together for Friday night, and a bunch of my close friends came over, and we hung out, and it was lovely, and we chatted and just hung out until about 2 a.m, and yeah, it was really good. I had some new friends, some old friends, mostly old friends, older friends, people I've known since junior high come out, so gosh, 25 going on 30 years, and it was really nice. People that I hadn't talked to much since coming out, because a lot of my friends group, I don't know what the deal is. This is a pretty common occurrence, but coming out, and they just kind of drift away. And I don't know if they're going, well, you're going through some shit, so we'll just give you your space, which is fine. But when everybody does it, it starts to feel pretty lonely. And I've met a lot of new friends through Trans Spectrum, and a lot of people in the trans community. But that doesn't mean I want to give up my old friends. These are in addition to, and it was a little bit of a mix of worlds of my new friends coming from Trans Spectrum, and then my old friends coming from previously in life. And it's a little funny, like, the interaction was, for the most part, fine. I found the strangest parts of the interaction, though, was my trans friends feeling like it was supposed to be like a introduction to trans and like 101 and like educate the masses, and it's like, no, this is not what this is about. It's okay, just hang out, just talk about things other than transiness, because we are more than just being trans. I think people forget about that because this is such a huge thing for a while. It's the biggest thing in your life. You forget that it's like, well, I'm just a person with, like, I do things that are fun, I have a job, I just live my life. And so it was nice to get the two groups to intermingle a little bit. Only a couple of awkward situations. But what I have been finding recently is a lot more misgendering lately. And part of it is because those friends don't spend a lot of time around me. I think they misgender more often because they're just not in the habit. I don't know how they speak about me at home, or if they correct themselves at home, and that's something that I'll talk to them one-on-one about. But even like last weekend for the Game of Thrones premiere, and this weekend for Game of Thrones, I got misgendered a lot by like people that just met me, and people that have only known me as Tommy. They've never known me as Tom. And so that was kind of strange. And I don't know if it's just my voice and me getting lazy because I'm getting comfortable with people, and so I don't stay up on my voice enough. But it is kind of disheartening because I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? I'm going backwards. These people that have only known me as a woman are still misgendering me, and they're not being malicious. They're not doing it on purpose. I don't hold ill will towards them because of it. But it makes me wonder, what am I doing wrong? That's the impression I am giving them. And that's for me to work out. I don't know what it is. Passing is not 100% necessary. But when my friends who know and love me are misgendering me, something I am doing is triggering those thoughts, triggering that misgender in their head. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. A stranger misgenders me. It's like, you don't have the habits. You don't, maybe you're just an asshole. I'm not going to be too fussed about somebody else being an asshole because I can't control that. What I can do is try to present in a way that people perceive me as I want to be perceived. And if they choose to ignore that information and be a jerk anyway, again, that's on them. That's not on me. But when it's my friends who know already what I'm trying to do and they're misgendering me, I feel like that's a bit on me. That's something on my mannerisms or vocal mannerisms or I don't know. And maybe it's just, not wearing makeup and kind of like today, just wee bit of eyeliner, wee bit of eyebrow pencil, and there's no makeup. And some people need that like in your face clue, like, oh, by the way. But mostly I would think that my boobies help. They're not massive, but they're there. So I don't know. It's a strangeness, and it's something that, like I said, I'll talk to my friends that did it one-on-one and try to find out from them. But when you bring that topic up of misgendering with somebody who is your friend, they tend to only just get really like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and they make it all about them. And I'm like, no, I really want feedback as to why you are misgendering me. Hi, Sunny and Mina. Which one of you is it? Because the misgendering thing, it's going to happen for the rest of my life. I understand that. But I do want to know, what is it that I'm giving off? What vibe am I giving off? What about maybe it's the conversation and what I'm talking about or how I'm talking about it. There's so many things that well, all right, it's Mina. Are Sunny and Mina the pets? I can't see your avatar. So yeah, with the naming thing, and not the naming, I'm looking at your name and thinking about names. With the gendering thing, it's just like, I don't know. The less I care about whether I get misgendered in public, excuse me, the less I care about whether I get gendered correctly in public, the more I pass. And it's not like, and again, I just don't think that people are paying a whole lot of attention, and they just like, okay, long hair that's fairly well taken care of, and boobies and feminine clothing, good to go. We're gonna, clock you as female. If they're paying attention, they see those things and go, oh, they're trying for female. And either way, the result is the same. And my cat over there in the corner was just saying hi to your cats, by the way. Let's see if we can do this without giving all of you nausea. There we go. That is my Smudge laying on the ground having a little nap. She's almost 19. She's my little sweetie. Hello, Chrissy. Welcome. Yeah, so like I said, I think people are just kind in a lot of cases, and or just not thinking at all. And when it comes to people that are thinking about it, or I'm interacting with a lot, that's when I wonder, why are you misgendering me? The people at work, people at work are, I hear it over the cubicle wall sometimes, but what's kind of interesting is I hear them, just the comments that they make to each other, because you can hear everything in the office. Like, so a friend of mine at work, loosely termed friend, coworker, he brought in some long range patrol meal, chili con carne, from probably about 91, 92. It's like an MRE, but it's less wet, more dehydrated food, less weight to carry. So as long range patrol, you'd carry more of them and have your food for a longer amount of time. But there's still like really calorie rich meals that are fairly gross, and they last forever, and you really need a lot of water to eat them because they're quite dry. And so I ate the granola bar that was with it just to see if it was as bad as I remember. And it is, but I still ate it. And so they were looking at this, like a couple of guys in the facilities are just, like Danny's over there going, what is this? And Fred is like, well, Tommy ate the granola bar, but you can have this if you want. And they're just like, wait, Tommy ate the granola bar? Tommy's a braver man than I. And then caught himself and was just like, well, greater person than I. And it almost felt like it was funny because they were catching themselves and they didn't think I could hear. And at the same time, I don't know if they were totally comfortable with saying woman, but he's not a woman. It was just really awkward and kind of funny to listen to. But it's kind of nice to hear that stuff in just when people don't know you're listening, that people are trying. And that's really helpful. Getting a lot of misgendering on the phone lately with meetings at work. I went ahead in my WebEx and I put she, hers after my name in my WebEx profile so that when my name pops up on their screen, it says my pronouns. And they still screw it up. So I'll write them privately and just be like, hey, by the way, she, hers pronouns. And they'll apologize to me directly and they try to correct themselves. But I think, again, it's my voice. There's no video on those, so it's all I have is vocal interaction. And when I'm talking something authoritatively, I do drop into a deeper register. And it's not just about your pitch, though. Pitch is a very small part of your voice. Like most of the women in my life have a deeper voice than I do, or right about the same. And but it's the vocal mannerisms and the resonance and things like that that really bring it out. And I think I'm going to work a lot on that while I'm in New York. Like I said, I'm going to have a lot of time to myself, a lot of time to play with my voice. I'll probably be doing a lot of these videos with just a couple people joining, just because I'm going to be bored, and you guys are going to be like, oh my god, Tommy, shut the hell up. And if the painkillers are good, it'll be fun. Makes you feel any better? I'm going to be a hairy little ape who sounds like someone has his balls in a vice. Oh no. Well, is that your goal? The nice thing about male or female to male transition is the testosterone does tend to deepen the voice. There's the crackly weirdness in the beginning. It's the same thing as when anybody else, any adolescent male going through puberty, you get the voice cracking when the nuts are dropping, and it's awkward and awful, and it's startling, but it's the lengthening and the loosening of the vocal cords make for a deeper sound, and that never comes back. You can, through training, tighten how you speak. And in doing so, you have to be careful because you can damage your vocal cords trying to tighten them or speak in a higher pitch than is natural for you. So the more important thing is the resonance and getting it from back in here up into here. So you'll see often people touching back here when they're talking. One, it's a feminine gesture, which is kind of nice, especially if you have like a little dangly necklace or something you can fiddle with. But you can feel, are the vibrations of my speech coming from here, or are they more forward in the mouth? And I could try to push it up even higher, but if I do that, then I try to get higher, then it starts coming up into my nose and it's nasal, and I don't like it. So it's one of those things, like I don't want to go too high, because if I go too high, then it sounds forced. So I want a natural sounding voice, but that just comes with practice. And so when I'm at work and I'm talking, if I'm talking serious about a topic I know, then the tendency for anybody, male or female, is when you're trying to be listened to and speak authoritatively, your voice pitch does drop more. And so I try to really force, like, okay, here's what I'm talking about, which I know, and then here's how I'm talking about it, and trying to use longer sentences, trying to be a little more locucious, trying to keep that light articulation, trying to be clean articulation with a light contact on the hard consonants, and using more inflection. Not necessarily ending everything in a question, not like that, but ups and downs, a little more sing-songy. So it's kind of hard. Yes, let's see. Nothing yet. Like your balls to drop. If you just get them to come right out. My wife always says she just keeps her balls on the inside. Yeah, it does suck to have to work hard at voice. But at the same time, it's been one of the better parts of my transition from understanding myself and something I can actively work towards and train, and that's fun. But like the conversations with my voice pathologists have been lovely. I mean, one of them was a women's study major before she switched to voice pathology, and just the women in society and how men and women are treated differently in the different aspects have been really, really pretty neat. I think it was really fun talking to them, and thank you. I've always had a pretty soft voice, so that has helped. Hello, Beaster Guadalupe. So my conversations with my voice pathologists usually ran, like we'd get in there and it would be like, okay, tell us about your week. And so I would sit there and I would just tell them about my week. And then they would take a bunch of notes and write down, it's like, okay, when you're talking about this is how you sound, and these are corrections you could make. And when you're talking about things at work, here's some things you could try. Here's some words you're having an issue with. I have the hardest time when it's things like, in the morning I go to Circle K and get my coffee, and people will, hold the door for me. And that's like a strangeness, right? In and of itself. But there's also a lot of landscapers at that Circle K in the morning when I go to get my coffee. The landscapers, more often than not, are Hispanic, and there is a bit more of the machismo and the like hold the door open chivalry taught, I think, within that culture. And so they're very adamant that they will hold the door for me. They will do these things and be nice, which is awesome. But at the same time, like, I get startled by it. And when I'm startled and trying to say, well, thank you, I feel like I'm forcing the thank you, and then I sound like I'm a dude, thank you. And it sounds funny to me coming out. So it's really hard for me to remember to work on my voice while startled, or say in a bar trying to speak loudly, trying to be clear on the phone call, like those certain situations. It's really hard. Yeah, so how long have you been, are you on testosterone yet, Sunny and Amina? I don't know do I know you in person? I'm awful at the names, I really am, and I don't, so I apologize for that. So you started on T, that's rad. Cool, good for you. Yeah, I don't know exactly how long it takes for the guys, but everybody that I know that's a guy that has had testosterone has had their voice deepen at some point, and it's just a natural part of an effect. Oh, shit. I know you. Yeah, okay. Hi, Lee. Yeah, everybody ends up with some sort of deepening, but, I mean, there's other factors to your voice. I know there's, chest volume and the resonance in the chest versus, part of it is going to be also Oh, hi. Beaster Guadalupe. Did I see you today at Tempe High? Oh, the endocrine issues. Yeah. But just like I'm working to pull my voice from back here forward, even though your voice is going to deepen, you're probably going to need to work on your mannerisms in the opposite direction, where you need to take your resonance from your head voice down into your chest. And that's going to be a thing that you're trying to do. Where I am trying to speak lighter and a little more airy, you're going to want to speak a little harsher, maybe shorter phrases, a little more precise, or hard contact versus hard contact when you're speaking. Things like that, where almost all the things I'm learning, you're going to do in reverse to kind of learn male vocal patterns if that's important to you. Again, pitch is only part of it. It's a small part of the overall vocal profile, and yeah, you'll get a deeper pitch, and that will help. But unless you're doing the other things, you'll end up sounding like a deeper voiced woman if you don't change those other patterns. Featherbrain 70. This makes me think that's Heather. Heather, is that you? And Beaster Guadalupe, I can't see your little picture there, but I'm glad you're from Tempe High. And hello, and thank you for adding me. Most everything I learned was from the voice pathologist, because that's where I started. When I came out to socially, but not at work, first things I started were hair removal and voice pathology at the VA. And the first voice pathologist was all about pitch. He wasn't very knowledgeable about the differences between masculine and feminine vocal patterns. And I would ask him, I'm like, what's going on? Like, something is different and I can't put my finger on it, but it's not just pitch. And I didn't find the online resources until after I was on my third set of voice pathologists. And they were already teaching me the things that I was finding online. So all it did is echo the same stuff that I was being taught. So it was just like, oh, it's more of the same, okay. But that doesn't mean that any of the online resources are necessarily bad, but be leery and pay attention to what other people say about the resource you're using, because there are things you can do that will damage your voice if you're doing them wrong. There are things that people say, like swallow, and that like pitch right before you end up swallowing, like that space in your mouth, that's where you want to make your voice tighter, and things like that, where a vocal coach or a voice pathologist will be like, you can damage your vocal cords doing that. You really need to be careful that you don't, because what you don't want to do is lose your voice altogether, or you end up, sounding just broken because you've basically stretched out the rubber bands that are your vocal cords. I don't know, did you get a chance to look at my video? I posted it a while ago, so it's in my history, of my vocal cords being recorded, filmed while speaking. And you see, they're just ribbons. So it's one of those things where the folds, they're kind of undulating, and they're, it's like a reed instrument where things are vibrating, and your muscles are stretching them taut or leaving them loose. So that's your pitch, and artificially changing your pitch too much just it ruins them. It stretches them out, and then you can't tighten things to be precise with your speaking. You end up, that's where you start seeing people that are older, and they've got the broken voices. Their timbre is bad. They can't hold a note, which I can't sing and hold a note, but when I'm speaking, I can make the right sounds come out, and my voice isn't ending up cracking or things like that. So it's pretty interesting stuff. I don't know of any in Tucson for vocal coaches, but I do know that a voice pathologist that works with gender should be able to go both ways. Yay. And the online resources that I know people that have been working with them, they've had some pretty good success. Samantha, if you see her on my on my feeds or anything, suddenly Samantha, she had the surgery to tighten up her vocal cords first, had to be quiet for a month, but then she still had the vocal mannerism part to work on, and she almost exclusively used online resources for that, and she has an amazing voice. So there's a lot of work involved either way. I know a couple of people that are working right now with people that they pay, but they work through Skype or video conference and work that way to get their lessons in, and that's pretty effective for them. But for me, the VA offered it, and even part of me is like, why should I take away services from somebody else when I'm doing pretty okay when I go to the VA? But the other part of me also knows how government budgets work, and I know that if people aren't using services, they will disappear. And I want to make sure that another veteran that needs them more than I might still has them available. So that's a thing that is it's been a concern for me. I have had to come to terms with, and because it kind of messed me up in the head that, why would I go to the VA hospital when people have such other problems and are having a hard time getting into appointments and things like that. But who's not having a hard time getting appointments or making them? Voice pathology. Even the programs in the psychology department that I've used, some of them were for sexual trauma, PTSD, anxiety. I felt bad again because they weren't combat related necessarily. And I'm like, well, I'm taking something away from a combat vet. And the nurses there are like, honey, they don't show up. Like, I went to dialectic behavioral therapy, which is often used for borderline personality disorder, but also one of my diagnoses is major depressive disorder, and it's found to be effective therapy. So what it does is it teaches tools that I could use so that when we started actually going at the root of my problems, I had the tools to not fall into a depressive cycle and end up hurting myself. I could deal with the issues we were bringing up. And I felt bad about that. And they're just like, 50% of the veterans that sign up for this program don't even show up. So if they're not willing or able at that time in their life to show up, I'm not taking resources away from anybody. If anything, I'm holding a seat and making sure that those are available in the future for somebody else. So hearing that from the people that work there helped a lot. I think other veterans don't quite understand the way that system works, and that, I'm not holding up a primary care physician. I'm, that just, in that case, it's simple health care. That's pretty basic. My time in endocrinology, that's service connected, and that's already covered. So yeah, it's just one of those things of trying to make sure that, in this case, I'm going to use their trans and LGBT related services because I think people don't realize they're there, and until they realize they're there, I'm holding space for them. I'm making sure that, the prosthetics department knows how to order breast forms and bras and wigs and gaffs and packers and stand-up-pee devices and binders. Just like orthopedics will hold, they'll do shoes for diabetics, but people don't know that they do that, so they don't ask for them, and then they forget how to do it. They have to build relationships in the community and have a certain amount of volume. If they don't have that volume, they're not going to have good pricing, and then they're going to kill the relationship. So want to make sure that those services are getting used, and it seems a little wasteful, but that, frankly, is government programs. If you've ever been in a government type of contract, you know that you better spend all of your money, or next year you don't get as much money. And when you need it, it won't be available. So we used to go to the range with a certain amount of ammunition. You never left the range with extra ammunition. I'm not saying as an individual, I'm saying as the training exercise. Everybody, you pretty much have what they call mad minutes. Everybody loads up all their magazines at the end and just goes to the range and just burns everything off, because when you do need to train harder for something and you need more ammo and you need more time, if it's not available, then you end up missing out and you wait a whole other year before you get your allocation back. It is nutty, and it's very short-sighted, but at the same time I can understand where the system develops from, of trying to plan, forecast, because there is a budget that you're allocated money ahead of time that you need to try and use, and you're trying to predict the future and you can't. So it's a little strange in that regard, but I definitely feel like I'm actually doing pretty okay and actually helping my community in a way by using the services that are there. Kind of meandery little topic, sorry about that. We were talking about voice. So one of the things I am doing is I'm taking my training notes for my voice pathology lessons with me to New York, and that's probably when I'm going to film all of my exercises and make shorter little YouTube videos, one exercise per video. And I'm not an expert, I'm not a vocal trainer, but what I can do is provide what the exercise is with some examples of how to do it, and then people can practice on their own. And so maybe getting a voice pathologist is going to be expensive for somebody, but if you can practice on your own or have things that you can do in between seeing a professional, that can be helpful. And so hopefully I can get those up over the next month. Ooh, we got a question. If your parents won't accept you, let's get this up there. If your parents won't accept you for who you are, because I'm bi and I'm afraid to come out to my Catholic parents. I've tried to answer this in different ways. I'm trying to remember. You're bi, but you're not trans, correct? But even that is like, it's one of those things of, you got to be safe. I'd like to hear some of other people regarding this, and when I post this video on YouTube, I'll also highlight this question in my comments in the description, because I want people to out in the world to provide some additional answers than my perspective. So if your parents won't accept you for who you are because you're bi and you're afraid to come out to your parents, or you're afraid to come out as bi or afraid to come out as trans, in some ways it doesn't matter. Unaccepting is unaccepting, and if they're not going to be accepting, you need to find your balance of how much bullshit can you take before you break. You need to stay safe. You need to make sure that you are not going to be beaten, that you're not going to get kicked out of your house. If you are going to get kicked out, what's your backup plan? Do you have a job? Do you have friends you can stay with that have committed that yes, you can? Are there going to be youth services, that sort of thing that can help you? Get those things lined up before you come out. Good night, Lee. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining. But I only you, none of us here are going to know your parents as well as you do. So there is that challenge of nobody's going to know how they're going to take this better than you. And in some ways, bi is a weird thing in that people understand gay and they understand straight, just like they understand man and they understand woman. You start talking about bisexual, and I assume you mean bisexual and not bigender. Hey, Sean. Once you start talking about those things, I think people have a harder time, because it's easy when you can flip from one box to the other and just be like, oh, you're gay, I understand, so you're the opposite of what I'm familiar with. Or, oh, you're trans, you're the opposite of what I'm familiar with. But when you go into bisexual, bigender, or any sort of pansexual, or any of the myriad other genders and sexualities that people have identified and defined, people have a hard time accepting, one, that they're even real. So education is a good thing. I would start, perhaps, check out the PFLAG website. They have resources for transgender youth, a guide for parents. And I'm curious if they have in their reading materials LGBT youth in general. I haven't read that book because I'm not dealing with parents. I'm 44. My mom lives in Michigan and I don't really talk to her. So that's something that I don't have a lot of good information on. Sean, based on this question that's sitting here, is this something that you could hop on and maybe address? I think you're a little closer in age, and I don't know how your parents are, though. I don't know if you've had any issues. But, I mean, if you are afraid to come out, the first thing you want to identify with any fear, is it a valid fear? Is it an internal thing where I'm afraid it's going to be uncomfortable? Or is it an actual fear of harm? Is this going to harm me? Are they going to hurt me? Are they going to kick me out? And sit there in a time when you're calm and can think straight and consider that, because if it's your own personal fear of rejection, fear of just the embarrassment possibly, those are two different things. That's something you can work on. If it's fear of their reaction being dangerous to you in a real physical way, that's something you can't control. So the first part, I think, would be examining your fear and why do you think that way, and then moving forward from there. If it's because you think it's a dangerous situation, then extract yourself from the situation before you come out. If it's you're afraid of rejection or you're afraid of sadness because of how they're going to react, that's when you start balancing, well, how long can I sit on this before it starts to eat me alive? Is it something that I have to tell them right away? Is it something I can give them time to come around on? So it might be that you drop it and then you tell them you drop the bomb and then leave it alone for a little while and let them absorb it. Some parents are receptive to education materials. Some people are not. So it's such a hard and individual situation. What do you say? Sean says, my parents are chill, but it took them a few years to take me serious, and they also didn't let me medically transition when I was 17, so I sort of have resentment towards them about that. But overall, it's a pretty good relationship if we don't spend too much time together. I can understand that. That's a lot of parent relationships, is as long as we don't spend too much time together, things can be pretty cool. So I don't know a better answer to that, but I do want to see if we can get some better answers for you. I've asked this question for a number of the people that I see at Tempe High. I've asked the question of peers, and I don't get a whole lot of really good answers other than you just never know how somebody's going to react. So be safe. That's what I hear most. I've got 1:45 remaining, by the way. Sean, you always come in at the end. Does this just give you a notification late that it started, or you just kind of, it seems like you are like at that 15 minutes left time frame whenever you pop in. I don't know how long it takes for them to distribute that I'm going live. Oh, okay. So yeah, again, there's just under 2 minutes remaining. This has been lovely. It's been a nice quiet night, but I'm sitting kind of contemplative. I'm not going to be able to go to my meetings tomorrow because I'm going to be packing to go to New York. So this will be probably my last hurrah before my surgery. I might do something over the weekend, but if I'm getting to New York, it means I'm busy getting stuff. I'm going to build my nest in my friend's house and make sure I have all my supplies and everything, and get everything ready for surgery next Monday. So most likely next Monday there won't be one of these. I really don't know what the drugs are going to be like after I come out of surgery, so it might be that I'm fine, or it might be that it's really silly because I might be higher than hell, or because it's opioid-based rather, I might just be really sleepy and sleeping. So we'll just play it by ear, and the next month is going to be really interesting. Sean, I hope you got your house clean. Beaster and Evelyn, it was very nice seeing you on here. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram if you haven't already, and I'll talk to y'all later. Good night.